Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show for you today. First, another secret hearing has been set in the Bryan Kohberger matter. What could it possibly be? Luigi Mangione says you can't prosecute me twice for the same offense. Oh, he's so wrong. We have a Karen Reed update. We have a Colorado rock throwing case update. P. Diddy says, I'm not taking a deal. This day in legal history and our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. As you can see, yes, we are not in the Crime Talk studios. We are on the road down here in Florida, attending a special event. But before we get to the docket today, let's remind you to go to crimetalksearch.com, where you can sign up for that background subscription service today. And when you do, you'll be able to do as many background searches on anyone you desire. And you're going to get all types of information that's going to include their phone numbers, their emails, the social media that they are connected with. You're going to find out if they own property. Are they married? Are they divorced? Do they have liens and judgments against them? Do they have a criminal history? And are they on the sex offender registry? Yes, everything that you want to know about somebody, but maybe they're not going to volunteer to you. Do this before somebody comes into your life, ladies and gentlemen. It could potentially save your life. Go check them out. CrimeTalkSearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Friday, May 2nd, 2025. And first on the docket, that's right, another sealed hearing in the Bryan Kohberger matter. The court sent out a notice, which is weird because it's secret, but they're going to let everybody know that they're going to have a sealed hearing on May 5th, 2025 at 11:30 a.m. Well, what could it be? More than likely, it's probably some sort of scheduling matter, but maybe to set another hearing that won't be secret. Have a real problem with all this secrecy. I don't believe there is any basis for it. Everything that we have found out through these pleadings that have been released, it's not a big secret. But yet, you go back to the case of Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, they acted like everything was in secret. The entire case was done in secret. Fortunately, Judge Hippler isn't going for that. Now, I believe that he is proceeding out of caution and saying, all right, let's kind of conduct this in private and see what it is. But ultimately, his orders are going to be released. So find out. Let's just find out. Why the secrecy? I don't get it. Like I said, you could walk into any courtroom any day and sit down and listen to the proceedings take place. You should be able to go find any public court file and see what is in the entire file. The press used to be entitled to all of this information, but they keep restricting everybody's access, claiming privacy. Well, I hate to say it, unless they're revealing your social security number or, your taxes, I get that, redact that. But everything else should be public. The public has a right to know how the prosecutors are doing. Is the defendant being treated fairly by the court? Are they receiving effective representation? Those are the things that everybody in the public is entitled to know. And this secrecy, it's just not right, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, it's just a scheduling matter. But the reality of it is, if it's just a scheduling matter, why is it being done in secret? I don't get it. It needs to stop, not only in this case, but all the other cases as well. Next on the docket, Luigi Mangione. He says, you can't try me in both the state court and the federal court for the same offense. He is so wrong. They are separate jurisdictions, and they can, in fact, do that. So Luigi Mangione's lawyers argued yesterday to throw out his state murder charges in the killing of the United Healthcare CEO, Bryan Thompson, arguing that the New York case are parallel to the federal death penalty prosecution, and therefore that would amount to double jeopardy. I want to know, where did this attorney go to law school? That is the dumbest argument I've ever heard of, all right? No, they're separate jurisdictions. You can be prosecuted. Now, normally one will defer to the other, but the reality of it is you can be prosecuted for the same offense in separate jurisdictions. It can happen. It's a separate sovereign. And think about it. If you kill somebody, let's say in Florida, and you dump the body in Georgia, you could be prosecuted in Florida and Georgia. Now, normally they will defer, but you can prosecute where the body was found. You can prosecute where it was, where the murder took place in Florida, for under our example. You can be charged in federal court for crossing state lines, something along those lines, using a firearm in the commission of the offense. So the reality of it is, Luigi Mangione's attorneys, they got a lot of money. They got a lot of money for his criminal defense fund. You think they'd come up with a little more persuasive argument that a law school first-year law student could figure out and know that that is simply not correct. So the defense is saying that if that doesn't happen, the case is dismissed. They want the terrorism charges dismissed and the prosecution barred from using evidence collected during Luigi Mangione's arrest last December, including the 9mm handgun ammunition and the notebook, which the authorities have described his intent to kill Bryan Thompson. Now, Mangione's attorneys also want to exclude statements that he made to police officers who took him into custody at that McDonald's restaurant in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Prosecutors also allege that Mangione apologized to officers for the inconvenience of the day and expressed concern for the McDonald's employees who alerted them to his whereabouts, saying, a lot of people are going to be upset with my arrest. For those who don't know, Bryan Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO, was killed on December 4th outside of a Manhattan hotel for a investors meeting. But now prosecutors are fighting over who basically gets to control the fate of Luigi Mangione. And Luigi Mangione's defense attorneys are calling the dual state and federal cases, plus the third case in Pennsylvania involving the gun possession and the forgery charges, an unprecedented prosecutorial one-upsmanship. They said the prosecutors are trying to get two bites at the apple to convict Luigi Mangione. They do this all the time. Yes, different charges, same facts. You can do that. Think about when people weren't happy with various convictions against police officers, and then they charge somebody in federal court with violating the person's civil rights. Yes, they can do that, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, these attorneys for Luigi Mangione are getting paid a lot of money through his legal defense fund. They should come up with some better arguments and quit wasting the court's time on this. Next on the docket, Karen Reed, the trial that will never end. But that's okay. It keeps on giving. So the key witness one of the key witnesses in the Karen Reed murder trial over the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, is taking the stand for the third day after going round and round with the lawyers over admissions made earlier in the week. Now, Jennifer McCabe, the star witness against Karen Reed, who's obviously accused of striking John O'Keefe in her SUV and leaving him to die, told prosecutors April 29th, when she was testifying, that she heard Reed say, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," the morning they found John's body lying in the snow. Now, Reed's defense attorney, led by Alan Jackson, has long argued that Reed was framed for the murder by law enforcement officers who they allege killed O'Keefe after an altercation. Now, the first trial resulted in a hung jury back in July of 2024. Now, McCabe's testimony marks the high point in the case thus far and is expected to play a crucial role as prosecutors and defense attorneys continue to lay out their argument in the Reed trial. Now, jurors are also expected to hear from other witnesses, including two crash reconstruction experts with the firm ARCA, who testified during Reed's first trial that they did not believe O'Keefe's injuries were consistent with being hit by the SUV. Now, the judge denied a motion by the special prosecutor, Mr. Brennan, to dismiss the witnesses over concerns that they deleted more than 100 text messages pertaining to the trial. Now, Jackson tried to present McCabe with a series of messages that she sent to her husband, Matt McCabe, sister Nicole Albert, and brother-in-law Bryan Albert in the days after O'Keefe's death. He alleged that the text showed that she was colluding with other witnesses in the case. In the first string of text entered into evidence, McCabe texted her sister, quote, "Carrie talked to the cops and kept simple," around 8 p.m. on January 29th, 2022, the day O'Keefe's body was found. Her sister responded, "We'll get more info tomorrow. Don't want to text about it." End quote. Another set of messages on February 1st between Albert and McCabe's appeared to show on Jennifer McCabe's and her husband's listening to O'Keefe's friend John Roberts' conversations with Michael Proctor, the lead investigator on the case at the time. "You listening?" Jennifer McCabe wrote to the group text. Her husband later responded, "The girl could write a book nonstop." McCabe shared vivid details about discovering the body of one of her closest friends and Reed's crazy and erratic behavior that morning following a night of drinking with the couple. Prosecutors also played McCabe's eerie 911 call the morning she, Reed, and O'Keefe's friend, Carrie Roberts, found him lying in the snow outside of the home on 34 Fairview Road in Massachusetts. Now, there's a man passed out in the snow. She could be heard telling a first responder, "I think he's dead." Upon cross-examination, the defense counsel continued to challenge the memory of the witness against Reed by pointing out inconsistencies between testimony given to the grand jury and in the first trial and on the stand in this particular trial. Jackson pressed McCabe on why she didn't tell the first grand jury that she heard Reed say, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," if the memory was as ingrained in her memory as she says. Like I said, McCabe is one of the prosecution's key witnesses. She is the sister of Nicole Albert, who is married to Bryan Albert, one of the men Reed's defense team has alleged killed O'Keefe. And McCabe and Albert were out drinking with Reed and O'Keefe the night before the Boston police officer was found dead. McCabe testified that the couple was supposed to join an after party at the Alberts' house, but never arrived. She alleges that she saw Reed's car in front of the house multiple spots that night. In the first trial, Reed's defense team suggested that McCabe knew something happened to O'Keefe and later helped frame Reed. Now, you can watch the continued trial here on Crime Talk. We're bringing you gavel-to-gavel coverage. You can decide, Miss McCabe is telling the truth. Is she part of the cover-up for the police? We'll all find out together for the people that it really matters to. That's the jury. Now, obviously, the jury, the court of public opinion, matters as well, and we'll have to watch it and keep an open mind. We'll see what the defense presents as well. Remember, the defense never has to present anything, and I am of a firm belief that the defendant usually does not fare better the second time around after a mistrial, and so I think we'll see, but I think the special prosecutor, Mr. Brennan, has done a pretty good job at trying to dismantle the defense that was put forth in the previous case. And the defense is kind of locked into that theory. It's not like they got a plan B that they can go with on this particular time. We'll see how it goes. Next on the docket, an update on the Colorado rock throwing case. So a young gentleman, 20 years old, Nicholas Carroll Chick, he pled guilty in exchange for testifying against his friend, Joseph Koenig. And he testified at the trial of Joseph Koenig that went on over the last several weeks. And he told jurors that Koenig was the one who threw the rock off the overpass, and it hit the windshield of a young woman by the name of Miss Bartell. It ultimately struck her in the head and killed her. Anyway, Carroll Chick agreed to the plea deal back in May of 2024 and was convicted of second-degree murder and second-degree attempted murder. Mr. Quack, another guy, Zachary Quack, also took a plea deal, and he's going to be sentenced today as well. Now, last week, Koenig was convicted of 19 charges, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, third-degree assault, and attempted third-degree assault, and he is scheduled for sentencing on June 3rd. He will receive life without the possibility of parole. On Thursday, Carroll Chick was sentenced to 45 years in prison, followed by 5 years of mandatory period of parole. Now, of course, it was an emotional sentencing, and Mr. Chick's mother said, "Everybody in the courtroom hates us, but I'm here standing with my son because I know ultimately he is a good person." Obviously, a young woman is dead, cut down in the prime of her life, no doubt. And then you really have to wonder, I mean, obviously somebody's going to prison for the rest of their life. Mr. Chick, Carroll Chick, was the first one to basically come forward. He got the best deal, and he got 45 years. Now, that's a long time for a 20-year-old to say, "I'm going to go to prison for that time." Under the sentencing statute, he will be eligible at 75% possibly work his way down to 50% if he behaves himself in prison. But that's a long time. And that's one of the toughest things about this particular job is when you have a young defendant and you tell them you have to go to prison for longer than you have been alive. And in this case, double the amount of time that you have been alive. And then you also have to explain to them, well, those numbers aren't very real, but the life without the possibility of parole could be real. And I mean, when I say they're not real is that you're not going to serve the entire sentence. And that's some of the reasons why those numbers are so big. But the reality of it is 45 years. Listen, when those hours sitting in that cell turn into days, those days turn into weeks, those weeks turn into months. That is a long, long time. Do you think that that 20-year-old is going to be the same person that they will be when they're eligible for parole in 25 to 30 years? A long time to think about it. That's for sure. Next on the docket, P. Diddy says he's not taking any deal. That's right. The trial in the case of P. Diddy is supposed to start on May 5th. That's Sean P. Diddy Do It Combs. Now, the case was called before the court, and the court formally inquired of whether Mr. Combs would take a plea deal. Yesterday, Combs rejected a plea deal in his federal sex trafficking and racketeering case. He told the judge, following a discussion with his legal team, that he is declining the plea deal. Like I said, he's set to start trial May 5th. The prosecution and the defense agreed that potential jurors are going to be brought into the courtroom one at a time and questioned one by one. And members of the press will be present, though jurors can request a sidebar if they feel uncomfortable about anything that they want to discuss. Now, the judge previously ruled that the prosecutors are allowed to show a video that shows Combs attacking his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, at a California hotel in 2016. The video was released to the public last May, months before Combs was actually arrested, and Ventura is expected to testify against Combs and will not use a pseudonym in court, which she should not. If you're going to make an allegation, you need to come to court and back it up. But Combs was arrested back in September of 2024 outside of a hotel in New York on the federal charge of racketeering and sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, Combs has been denied bail 3 times, and the judge has determined that he is a serious flight risk given his financial ability to leave the United States. Now, 2 more accusers came forward a week after Ventura's lawsuit. One of the women claimed that Combs drugged her at Syracuse University back in 1991. Combs has denied these allegations before a 3rd accuser, Lisa Gardner, levied similar charges against him. In that case, Gardner claims Combs and singer-songwriter Aaron Hall drugged and raped her and a friend following an Uptown record event in 1990. Now, Gardner said that she was 16 at the time of the incident. She's also accused Combs of choking her the day after the assault. Now, days after footage of the Ventura assault was publicized, 2 more women filed lawsuits. One of those women was April Lampros, a New York Fashion Institute of Technology student who reportedly met Combs in 1994. Lampros accused Combs of sexually assaulting her on 4 occasions in between the mid-1990s and early 2000s. And Lampros claims that Combs promised to mentor her and connect her with executives in the fashion industry. Instead, Combs allegedly forced her to drink before raping her in her hotel room. And Lampros recalled another instance in which Combs forced her to perform oral sex in a parking garage while a parking attendant watched. Now, Combs has been accused of committing or facilitating sexual abuse of at least 30 others in lawsuits that have been filed, including one filed in October, which alleges that he and Jay-Z raped a 13-year-old girl in New York in 2000. The accuser in that case had her lawsuit dismissed in February. This is going to be an interesting trial, ladies and gentlemen. But one thing that's always interesting is that who's going to show up and support Sean Combs? Obviously, his family will be there, assuming they're not witnesses in the case. But everybody wanted to go to, Combs' parties. We'll see who shows up to support him in court. Now, obviously, he's entitled to the presumption of innocence, and he should be given that. That's the way our system of justice works, and we'll see if the prosecution can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Obviously, one of the things that people are going to perhaps look at is the time that it took place for the complaining witnesses to come forward, and also the fact that they're looking for a shakedown, so to speak. I'm sure that will be the basis of the cross-examination by the defense attorneys for Mr. Combs, saying it's always about the money, isn't it, ma'am? And when you say it's not, then we really know it is, because you just happened to file a civil lawsuit, didn't you? Very, very interesting. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting for sure. I can't wait. I wish we were able to televise it, but we can't because federal courts do not allow cameras in the courtroom and no recordings in the courtroom. So we are going to be limited by what we get in the press. Next on the docket, this day in legal history, May 2nd, 1863, the Supreme Court hears ex parte Vallanham, which later upheld military tribunals. Obviously, a key Civil War legal precedent, well, that sometimes still carries through to today. On May 2nd, 1921, the Emergency Quota Act debates intensifies, later restricting immigration, shaping U.S. legal immigration policy. Have you ever noticed, ladies and gentlemen, the more things change, the more they stay the same, all these issues just get rehashed over and over again. On this date in 1972, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover dies, prompting legal reforms to limit FBI overreach as well as to protect civil liberties. I wonder if they found him in his high heels. And then on May 2nd, 2005, the Supreme Court hears Roper v. Simmons, had oral arguments on that case. It's later resulted in the opinion banning juvenile death penalties, quite significant in juvenile justice. And then finally today, our dumb criminal. Ladies and gentlemen, some people, they just can't be happy. So this guy, our dumb criminal of the day, he's from Kentucky. One day after claiming a $167 million Powerball jackpot, he finds himself in custody for kicking a cop in the face during a fight in Florida. That's right. James Farthing, Farthing, apparently he's a 50-year-old ex-convict, was arrested Tuesday evening on felony and misdemeanor charges in connection with a fracas at the Trade Winds Resort in St. Pete Beach. Farthing was at the resort with Jacqueline Fightmaster, his 42-year-old girlfriend. Now, Farthing and Fightmaster appeared Tuesday at a Kentucky lottery press conference announcing the Powerball win, which Farthing is splitting with his 77-year-old mother. Anyway, Farthing, who won the April 26 Powerball drawing, purchased the winning tickets from a gas station about 15 miles from his house in Lexington on Tuesday evening. One day after posing with the oversized jackpot winning check, Farthing punched a male victim in the face during an argument at the Trade Winds, according to the police. A fight ensued. A sheriff deputy sought to break up the fight with Mr. Farthing and the other patron. Interceding in the brawl, Deputy Nicholas Arostasio reported being kicked in the face by Farthing, and after reviewing body-worn camera footage, guess what? He stated that he observed the defendant winding up his right leg, kicking your affiant in the face in an attempt to injure or to incapacitate myself. As a result, the defendants kicked the officer, causing the officer pain, which resulted in swelling and redness under his red eye. After being kicked, the deputy ordered Farthing to turn around and place his hands on his back. Our dumb criminal refused to do so and attempted to flee out the hotel. Simultaneously, the girlfriend was actively engaged in an argument involving another guest and her boyfriend and was trying to, true to her name, fight the other patron at the bar. Anyway, Farthing was booked into the county jail and is being held on a $10,000 bond. It should be no problem since he has that $167 million burn a hole in his pocket. But, it just doesn't go as far as it used to. You only get half because of taxes. So you only got 80. You split it with your mom. You only got 40 million. My goodness, what is one to do? Anyway, Mr. Farthing, you are our dumb criminal of the day. You had $167 million winning jackpot, and you still can't be happy, and you had to get in a fight. You, sir, are a dumb criminal of the day and probably deserve to go to prison. That's all we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to enjoy myself down here at this amazing event at this private resort down here in Florida. So we'll see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.